How's everyone doing today? Hope you're all doing well. This is going to be a quick video, but it's going to be a very fun one. This is going to be a contest entry into Richard McCook's contest. He recently surpassed 500 subscribers on his channel, so Rich, congratulations, that's fantastic, very well deserved. Richard shows off a very wide array of records and CDs. He's got a very eclectic musical taste. Every video there's something new to learn and something fun to discover, so a highly recommended channel. I suggest you check him out and subscribe to him because he is lots of fun. And he's one of the first people that subscribed to me and was very welcoming to me and very warm to me when I started here. So I'll always appreciate him for that. So I'll leave a link to his channel in the description of this video and check him out. So let's get right into it. The parameters of the contest are that he asks that we pretend that we are the head of a record label and that we are tasked with putting together a 6-track comp sampler of any band or artist that we choose. So the only kind of real hard rule is that we can't choose any singles that were released domestically in our country. So this band that I chose to feature does not have a lot of singles as it is, but they do definitely have their hits and their live staples that everyone knows them by. So I chose to bypass those tracks and go with kind of deeper cuts or rarer songs that would still do the band justice and that would show them off well in a sample form. So without kind of further ado, I'll get into it. The band that I chose to feature is a band that I don't think gets enough love in the vinyl community. Frankly, if I had the time, I'd probably make a channel dedicated to the band because that's how much they mean to me. The band is Slayer. So let's get right into it. The opening track on my 6-song sampler would be Flesh Storm from their 2006 album, Christ Illusion. Fans of Slayer or people who know Slayer may or may not know that in 1998 they released their album Diabolus in Musica, and in 2001 they released God Hates Us All. Those two records were very much had a very new metal kind of frame of mind around them. The guitars were tuned very low, the songs were kind of more muddy and longer. A lot of experimentation with the vocals. They were definitely trying to channel what was going on at the time, I believe. And it wasn't bad. I dig those records a lot. I think they're fantastic. Definitely worth having on your shelf. I'm not going to feature them in this comp because I don't think they're reflective of Slayer's overall sound, but I digress. The reason I bring that up is because when this came out in 2006, this was full-on return to thrash. Dave Lombardo, the original drummer, came back. You know, he had been gone for 16 years. So it was the original members putting out a kick-ass thrash record, very, very well executed and perfect timing because it was what we needed. And I always felt in the early to mid 2000s there was kind of a thrash renaissance. A lot of new thrash bands were forming. Lots of older thrash or classic thrash bands were putting out comeback or follow-up records to recent comeback records. It was kind of a new age for thrash, and I think Slayer really did their part and by releasing this real staple of a record, in my opinion anyway. So back to the song. The song Flesh Storm. It's very, very heavy, very quick, and very thrashy. It starts off with a really cool kind of feedback intro before the main riff really hits. And it just goes and goes for about 4 or 5 minutes. Lots of great leads from Jeff and Carey. So yeah, a great record and a great way to show Slayer and show how dynamic and how, regardless of the time period, how they were able to stay on top and conquer and dominate. So Slayer with Flesh Storm as my #1 track. Track number 2, we'll be going back 10 years to 1986, to their third album, Rain and Blood, which, you know, to most people, or to many people, is the greatest thrash record ever made. Hard to argue it. I don't usually play favorites because I just love so much different music, but yeah, this is definitely a record I'd take with me, you know, to a desert island. The song I would choose off of here would be Altar of Sacrifice, the 4th track. Like I was saying earlier, you know, Slayer's known for their songs, Angel of Death, for example, or Raining Blood, which are both featured on here, which I think anyone tasked with doing something like this, those would be the first 2 songs they'd choose. So Altar of Sacrifice keeps in the same vein. It's very fast, it's quick. It's got a really cool kind of mid-slower section and then kind of tapers off into a slower breakdown. So it's got some progressive elements to it. It's got really cool lyrics. I love Tom's vocal performance on it. I think it's just a great song. and I think it's very worthy. It's not as known, and I think it's very worthy of Slayer fans or thrash fans' attention. So, as my number 2 song, I would choose "Altar of Sacrifice." Third song, we're gonna be jumping 10 years ahead. So, no, I guess that when I said Rain and Blood, we'd be jumping back 10 years. I meant 20 years, from 2006 to 86, and now we're jumping ahead 10 years to 96. This is their covers album, mostly covers album, I guess I should say. Undisputed Attitude. It features 2 songs by Blood Cum, which was Jeff Hanneman's hardcore band in the early 80s. They redid, Slayer redid 2 tracks, and there's a bunch of hardcore covers. This is a fantastic record. But the last song on here, Gemini, is a full-on original, about 5-minute track. It is quite slow. It kind of was the precursor to what Diabolus in Musica would be, but it's a fantastic song, and I don't think it gets played enough. And I don't think it's even known enough, because a lot of Slayer fans avoid this record on the basis of it being a covers album mostly. So yeah, the song Gemini, it's a mid-paced. It's very emotional and aggressive. It's got a wicked. The last section of the song is very, very quick and very heavy and very dense, and I think it would be a great way to finish off a side. You know, we've got Flesh Storm that starts really hard and fast, Altar of Sacrifice, which is again a really fast progressive song that kind of tapers off slower. We take that slowness and we build it into Gemini. Another reason why I thought it would be fun to include this is because I know myself, when I am out shopping for records, greatest hits, comps, or samplers or things don't usually appeal to me, because there usually isn't anything to kind of hook you. I think Gemini is a hook. A lot of people don't know it, so they'd see it and think, wow, this is a new song. And if they, you know, once they learn it's not a new song, it'll probably still be a song they hadn't heard before. So Gemini to close off side 1. Next up, to open side 2, we would have a song off of their 1988 album, South of Heaven, and it would be Behind the Crooked Cross. I think Behind the Crooked Cross has a really, really cool intro, very quick, very fast. I think it's like 228 or 230 BPM downstrokes. Very, very cool intro, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds and builds until it hits, and then it hits. And I just think it's one of the best songs off the album. I know this is kind of a polarizing one, coming off Rain and Blood. This was a lot slower and a lot more not conservative, but it was more reserved, I guess you could say, in terms of songwriting. But it's still a fantastic album, and it's brilliant. And I think because of those things I just said, a lot of these songs got dropped off the set quick or were never played live, including Behind the Crooked Cross, which I think, if I recall correctly, Kerry King never liked. And, you know, they did reunion tours, or they did anniversary tours for Rain and Blood. They did anniversary tours for Seasons in the Abyss, but they skipped over this one. And I remember reading at the time it's because they just didn't like a lot of these songs. So because of that, I think we need to shine a light on it, and I think fans need to know of it. So Behind the Crooked Cross for song 4, or the opener of side 2. Very thrashy, very quick, about 4.5 minutes long. For song 5, so the middle song of side 2, we're going to go back a few years to their second album. This is Hell Awaits, with the song Crypts of Eternity. One of Slayer's longest songs. It's almost 7 minutes long. Very, very progressive. Very early black metal sounding with thrash. I really associate this record with helping create black metal. That attitude and the sound with the Satanism lyrics, and you know the entire kind of morose and down overtones. And this record to me is really important, and I think it should be highlighted, especially on a compilation like this. It's not speed thrash all the way through. The last half definitely is, but I think it's worth having just because it's a side of Slayer that it was almost like a one and done side for them. They were never a very progressive band. They never were, you know, very, I won't say risky, but they were quite formulaic, and it's not a bad thing, but it's a fact. And this record really strayed from that formula for one time and one time only, I feel, and I think it should be highlighted for fans. So fantastic record, Hell Awaits. Pick it up and listen to Crypts of Eternity. Last song, song number 6, to kind of end out the comp in a fun way. This is their 1994 record, Divine Intervention. And I think a great way to end off the comp would be with the song 213, which is one of my favorite Slayer songs ever. It is a longer one, but it's full-on thrash, especially, you know, around the middle to the end. The lyrics of the song are just very not heart-wrenching, but stomach-wrenching. They're gross. Talking about what's his name, Jeffrey Dahmer, and 213 was the apartment he lived in, and the lyrics are just, I remember reading them as a kid. They freaked me out. I had to put I had the CD at the time. I had to put it away because it was like, no, I can't. It was messing me up. But I went back to it because I couldn't stay away, and I love it. So it's one of my favorite songs, and I think it's an excellent ending, or an excellent closing track for a sampler such as that. And fun fact, this is the first record to feature Paul Bostaph on drums. He also played on Undisputed Attitude, so he would have played on Gemini as well. So this would be my last song on the comp, 213. Yeah, so because I wanted to add a little fun little kind of bonus in, I thought, like, you know, labels always do for international markets, especially the Japanese markets, they always throw on, you know, bonus tracks or extra tracks. So I think it would be fun. I thought it would be fun to throw in a bonus track. And a rare one at that. So for my bonus track, for my song 7, or for my secret track, or whatever, however you want to say it, I thought we could include the experimental mix of the Seasons in the Abyss song. The experimental mix features a flute in the intro. It's not much different than the single or than the original mix, but it does have a flute. It's got a few other things that make it different. So it's a very rare song to find. It's on the Seasons in the Abyss single as a B-side. So I thought, you know what better way to draw in some buyers than by including a rare track or a hidden track, or especially if it's something that they have a hard time finding anyway. It's not like you can go out to Walmart or wherever and get any Slayer CD and find that mix on it. So it's definitely a rare gem, and I thought it would be fun to include. So that makes up my 7-track sampler for Slayer. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like Slayer, and if you don't, I hope you start liking them, because they're one of the greatest bands ever. You know, so influential and so important for metal in general, whether it's doom metal or speed or stoner or power. You know, there's a member of that band that listened to Slayer, and that band member you know, helped influence that band's sound. So it's just, I can't understate or overstate how much they matter and how important they are. So rest in peace to Jeff Hanneman, and listen to Slayer. So what I've got spinning on the turntable right now, I'd kind of keep with the thrash theme. We got Power Trip. This is a newer thrash band from Texas. This is an incredible album. This is their second one. I would pick it up if you don't know it. Funny enough, my favorite part of the record is this font here for Nightmare Logic. It reminds me a lot of the 80s album covers. Thrash records would always use that font, I feel. So it just kind of, I saw it and I thought, wow, that looks old. It's not. I think it came out in 2008 or 2016 or so. It's not old, but it rocks, and it's killer thrash metal. So, and I can guarantee you these guys were influenced by Slayer. So, Power Trip, check them out, and check out Slayer. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Be kind to each other, and have respect for each other. So see ya.